Hello, my name is Yvonne Hendrie and I have been invited to speak to you about my novel, The Water Bailiff's Daughter, and also to give you a few tips about writing in the hope that you might be inspired to have a go at writing a story, or who knows, even a book for yourself. The fact is, this novel began as a short story which I was writing for a competition, and it wasn't very good and it didn't get anywhere. But here is writing tip number 1. Never throw anything away because you don't know when it might be of use again. Writing tip number 2 is, no matter how short the story or the piece of prose that you're writing, you really have to know everything about your characters. You have to know their entire backstory, everything that's happened to them, everything they've ever done. That's what I knew about Helena Hailstains, the main character in my story. Although that short story was only 1,000 words, I knew about her entire life. And it was as if she kept knocking inside my head. She seemed such a strong and appealing character, and she was saying to me, you really have to tell my story, I've got a story to be told. And so 1,000 words grew to 75,000 words, and I had my first novel. It took a long time, it took a lot of hard work, I'm not pretending otherwise, but that was how it happened. So let me tell you a little bit about it. This is what it says on the back of the book. Helena Hailstains is sick of the secluded life her father, Sam, forces her to live on the shores of Loch Dewey. She runs away and encounters Megan, who as a muddled and meddling young sea witch cursed Helena and Sam, creatures of an ancient race of shape-shifting otters, to remain in human form. With Megan in her life again, this time meaning well but causing chaos, Helena embarks on a course with the potential to harm both herself and others. Now the fact is, Helena doesn't know about her origins. She knows that she was found as a baby in rather unusual circumstances, but she doesn't know where she came from. And Helena is now 14 years old, and she desperately wants to know where she came from, who she really is. She's on a quest for her identity. And more than that, she's on a quest for adventure, because she is fed up of being stuck in this secluded area of countryside on the banks of a loch. She wants to escape. So I'm going to read to you now a little piece from the novel, a little passage, and this is set on May Day 1942. Most of the novel is set in World War II. It begins a few years before it with some background, but we're beginning now on May Day 1942. Since she was out earlier than any of the others, Helena Hailstains stripped off the knitted swimsuit her mother insisted she wore and launched herself gracefully into the loch. She had read that young maidens should bathe their faces in the morning dew at sunrise on May Day to ensure beauty, but she had bathed every morning in Loch Dewey for as long as she could remember and hoped that was even better. The loch was certainly a special place. She experienced a joy and calmness in its waters that she didn't know anywhere else. But for some time now, she had yearned to explore further afield. The locals down at Ballyness washed their faces in a holy spring at St. Bride's Cave on this day. The minister, the one who had baptised her and under whose hawk-like gaze she had fidgeted every week for 14 years, said every year that it was superstitious nonsense and time it was ended in this new age, especially now there was a war on. It was time, he said, for humanity to grow up and stop believing in such things. His words fell on deaf ears as usual. Old ways died hard in the countryside. Helena flipped onto her back. The sun was up. There was a steely grey cover of cloud, but the air was warm and she hoped it might disperse. The others would be out soon. She turned and swam at speed up the loch to a favourite spot. Arriving, she saw what she was seeking and swam towards the bank, creeping up on the creature with practised skill. She seized the toad, banged it on the nearest rock to kill it, and settled down to enjoy her secret pleasure. She couldn't see what the problem was with eating toad's legs. The French, she had learned, ate frogs' legs and were considered sophisticated. First, she had to strip the legs of their poisonous flesh. No one had ever told her this, and she had no idea how she knew. She did it with her sharp little teeth and ate with relish. She choked as her father suddenly appeared, for he could swim just as fast and with just as much stealth as she could. "Helena, what have I told you? How many times?" "There's nobody here to see me but you," she laughed. "And what does it matter if it's not what a young lady should do? I'm not likely to be one or to go anywhere, ever." Helena sighed. She went to church and school, but both had been built for those who lived on Craigendon, and she had no wider acquaintance. She couldn't recall the last time she had been away from the estate. "It's safer here," was all Sam said. It was all he ever said on the matter. Helena eyed him sulkily. "I would have liked to work at the big house. It would have been a change, at least." "That subject is closed," her father said. "Get back along the shore and get your costume on. The boys have seen it and they know what you're up to. You should be setting an example." He launched himself back into the water. Helena rolled her eyes. Da was becoming as bad as Ma these days. At least Ma would have let her work as a maid at Craigendon House. A raven was watching her from a nearby rock, the same one which had shown up from time to time for years now. At first, she hadn't been sure it really was the same bird, but over time she had seen it age gradually. Now it had a few white feathers, while its black ones had become iridescent with age. In the steely early morning light, they glowed purple, green and blue against the grey of loch and sky. Helena regarded the creature with interest for a moment, then hissed, "Catch your ain breakfast." She finished her toad's legs at leisure, ran her finger up her chin to catch the juices, and sucked it thoughtfully. It's always a dangerous sign whenever Helena begins to look thoughtful, because it means that Helena is plotting something. And she is indeed plotting something big this May Day morning. But if you want to find out what it is, you're going to have to read the novel, which I very much hope you will do, because that is another tip for writing, and in fact the most basic tip. You cannot be a writer unless you are first a reader. Read widely, read lots of different authors, and read in all kinds of genres. Because while you're reading and enjoying reading, you're learning how to write without even realising it, because it's all going in there somehow. So read, read, read. And the other thing is, write, write, write. It might sound obvious, but if you want to be a writer, you really have to practice your writing. Think of it this way. You might be musical. You might have a natural aptitude for playing a musical instrument. Maybe you picked up a guitar, learned those guitar chords, no bother, and had your first tunes quite easily and quickly. But if you don't practice that guitar every day, you're never going to make that rock band, are you? And it's the same with writing. You really have to keep at it and keep practicing. So keep reading, keep writing. I very much hope that you might feel like meeting Helena Hailstains for yourself and finding out what happens to her. Thank you for joining me today. Stay safe. Bye-bye.